What is up, you sinners and saints, you godless people? Tonight's going to be a lot of fun. What's up, chat? I saw Critical Cripple and Edward Chiriak. This is going to be interesting. It is going to be interesting. Marty, what's up, Marty? Is Smokey actually going to show? Yes, Smokey isn't here. This was something that actually happened about 4 days ago. And I have Smokey's permission to mirror it. So when I play the video, the interaction is going to be about an hour and 13 minutes long. I'm going to try not to interrupt too much. And I'm going to play our interaction together. It happened on his channel. So to give you guys the backstory, I'm a firm believer in confronting people. I'm a firm believer in not running away from conversations. I'm not afraid of any conversation at all. So after the conversation with John Maddox on whatever night it was, I think it was last Thursday at midnight, at 2 a.m, that conversation is over. Me and John, we talked about an hour after that, and then I went and checked out Smokey, because I know Smokey was still streaming his response to what to the conversation I was having with John Maddox. Get in the chat, I troll a little bit, I get him nice and worked up, but then he puts the link in the description, says come on in. And I'm tired, but at the same time I'm still jacked from the conversation with John Maddox. So I went in, and we had a conversation. So I'm going to show that conversation in its entirety, and I'm going to try not to interrupt it too much. I'm just going to let it play. I'll interrupt it if I feel like I need to, but I'm going to just let it play, and then we're going to kind of discuss it afterwards. So if you have any questions for me afterwards, you can shoot me questions. But before we get into the video, if you saw my owning some of my mistakes video or live stream, then you saw me give a direct apology to MMA Jenkins, to talk about my rhetoric when it comes to ancient Israel, how I can improve it. And that was the morning after I had my conversation with Smokey. I always like to take criticisms of myself and acknowledge where I can improve. So I did that. And I'm gonna, Smokey has said that he has a level of respect for me now. So I'm gonna ask Smokey to really to do a thing today. I think that it's going to be important. It's going to be important for him. But we're going to get into it. But one of those issues was, I should apologize to MMA Jenkins, and I tried to tell him a couple times, and in this conversation I'll reference it. I actually referenced the wrong video, but it's actually called, what did I call it? A different course with MMA, and I thought it was my going human with MMA. But I knew I had issued an apology for some of my earlier videos, so I wanted to go ahead and just play that, show the receipts, back up what I say. So we'll get into that first, and then I'll show the conversation with Smokey. So this is my video. We're just going to show a real quick clips just so I can back up what I'm saying. A different course with MMA Jenkins. And I've been talking about this was, September 5th, 2019. So this was over a year ago when I said this. Last month, how I don't really like the way I've went at MMA in the past. And I think that I was wrong in a lot of my criticisms of her and her personally. I shouldn't have went personal because I don't know her personally. She pushes a very Bible thumping type mentality on her channel. She pushes a very strict Christianity because I think she was raised in a very strict Christianity. But I actually really like her personality, and I think that she is a very talented young woman. I think that she could do a lot of good in this world if she wasn't so focused on being a slave to Jesus Christ. But that's my personal opinion. So from now on, moving forward, I'm not going to try to be so negative with MMA, but just offer some real criticisms and give her some props when she deserves it. Hey. All right, so I mean that was that. Just because I knew I remembered it, doing it, and I'll be bringing that up during this conversation. I can't decide if I want to start it somewhere early. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start it. So I'm going to start it just a little bit before I come into the room, just to give you some context of what I was walking into when I went into the room. Now, mind you, this was the same night that I had the conversation with John Maddox. Smokey was reviewing it live, had John Maddox on afterwards. And then after I came out of the room talking with John for about an hour, eventually I would go into this room and we'd have about an hour-long conversation. So let me bring it up. We'll get back over here. So I will be stopping it shortly, and then I'll have to address an issue and something that I would like Smokey to maybe consider. And then I'm going to probably let it just play, and then we can talk about it after. Any questions that you guys have, I'll try to address those as we wrap it up tonight. So we'll start it right here just to give you guys some idea of what I was walking into. Now, some of that was my fault because I went in trolling the side chat, starting shit. But I was very calm, and I was very calm to start the conversation, as you'll see. But just this was what I was walking into.
Intimate that someone is female. I don't understand that. You said that twice now, as if that is some pejorative saying that someone is female.
I'm supposed to come into your room, so
that.
why wouldn't you come into mine, right?
Stop it.
I can be a little girly boy, though.
I mean,
okay, so I'm pretty sure you. I mean, how old are you?
Why would you say that, Rage? Why would you say that about yourself? Like, what is wrong with you? Like, seriously,
John, are you like 65?
What does my age have to do with
that? No, just answer the question.
I'm in my mid-50s.
Mid-50s, okay. So, as a grown man, I'm pretty sure you understand the context.
I think the idea that you were an alcoholic for 3 years means you were an alcoholic your whole life, Rage. That's kind of how it works. I don't think you did all this damage to your body because, again, you look like you're dying. You actually look like you legitimately have diabetes or gout or something. Like you're one of the most unhealthy, pasty-looking human beings I've ever seen. Like you basically look like you've been pickled for the last 20 years. That's what you look like. So, like, if you want to say that you were an alcoholic for 3 years, fine. But alcoholism, by nature, is not something you just have for a stint. Okay, so if you want to make that claim to try and make yourself feel better, that's fine. But none of us are buying it, okay? You're clearly a raging burnout drunk. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Look at you, dude. Look at you. You are pasty garbage trailer trash. Like, you are absolutely disgusting. Seriously.
That is being
don't lie.
Presented in
don't try to lie about what you are. It's blatant.
In relation to the overall conversation we've been having, and the point that Raging Ronnie and I both obviously understood
diabetes
about
legs, pickle Ronnie.
So here's the thing: is it that time of the month for him? So if you don't get that, why don't you stay out of it and let the two men have a conversation?
Okay, so if you want,
all right, okay, he's here. Let's let him in. All right, Ronnie, come on in.
All right, so that's what I was walking into, yo. Hopefully everybody can hear everything, but that's what I walked into. And here, let me get it back up here and I'm going to just let the conversation play. I'm going to try to let it play from here on out. I think that there is one part that I really probably will need to pause and just comment on. I go into this conversation not expecting any apologies. I won't get any apologies. So, Smokey, I'm talking to you right now. If you're watching this now, or if you're going to watch it on the playback, we can have a positive conversation moving forward. But where I have admitted my faults, apologize for where I'm wrong, correct where I'm wrong, I think that you need to really look at the way that you are talking to people. So that would be like, if you want to be taken seriously and if you want to have really serious conversations, you need to stop with these hyperbolic attacks. I think we need to have a serious conversation about your homo Jesus comment to Skylar Fiction. And you really need to chill out on that ad hom, just attack rhetoric that you have. There's no way that you can understand my life You should not be assuming anything about my life. And it's not just me, it's everybody. This is the way that you talk to people. Yesterday, Skylar Fiction had a live stream about Praise doing the same things. And you're all up in the comments. Your initial comment was what? I got it right here. Let's see what your initial comment to him was, because like, I think reviewing yourself of a review of a conversation you are in is a sign of some desperation. Like, dude, we have literally done that to each other the last 2 weeks, and you're saying for Skylar that. You're putting it in that context. Skylar isn't existing in that context, but you're literally talking shit to Skylar for doing the same thing that me and you have done for the last 2 weeks, right? And then you go on to say, this is your argument. What petty trash you are, Mad Santa. You got to stop with these kind of attacks. Like, attack the ideas. If you don't like what Skylar Fiction is saying, then attack his ideas, but don't attack him as a person. You don't know Skylar Fiction. And you go through this, and it's spineless roaches. It's clever horseface McGee talking to John Peterson. It's can you point to at the part where I'm supposed to be charitable to vile, toxic, evil trash? I mean, if you want to be taken seriously, Smokey, and if you want to have legitimate respect coming from me, moving forward and having really respectful, legitimate conversations, you got to stop doing that shit. Because if you think I'm going to have some kind of friendly back and forth with you when you're attacking people like this, it's not going to work out that way. Just because I chose to do that during this conversation doesn't mean that every conversation is going to be like that. You need to man up yourself and realize where you're wrong. I expected no apologies from you, and I will get none. I will get none. But you need to man up and look at yourself, dog. Now, I'm going to show you guys the conversation. I'll be back after the show, and I'll be in the side chat watching with you guys. Let's do it.
And say your piece.
I just accepted the invite.
Well, you must have something to say. You didn't just come in here to accept the invite. You must have something to say, right?
Sorry, I totally am not lying about this. I have this short in my microphone. I got to replace my microphone. I totally just missed what you said.
Okay, it's fine. Take your time. It's all right. Okay, take your time.
No, I hear you now. I got my hand there.
Okay. All right. So do you have anything you want to say, or do you just want to have a little chat? What do you want to do?
So this whole thing about me being a Nazi, right? Let's just like settle this, and maybe we can actually have that debate. I'm not a Nazi. I don't hate Jews. I have made derogatory comments towards Israel. I don't have any respect for them. And I do have
things up about them too.
No, I won't. Like, I actually have citation for that 12 years and a day thing.
Yeah, no, we found it. It's actually from medieval sources. It has nothing to do. It doesn't come from the Jews. You took that and wanted to associate it to the Jews because you want to associate them as pedophiles. All right.
Well, I'm going to have a stream about it, and I'll show my
sure. Look forward
to it. But so the whole comment, like I saw where you showed like I guess citation. Where
you want to show it again?
No, I saw it. It like I have admitted to saying that the people that wrote the Bible are sheep fuckers.
Well, you kept denying it, and then you verified.
Well, no, I've always admitted that. My thing was that
you verified it, and
well, no, I've always admitted that I have made those comments in the past.
You denied it on the stream with me.
See, it's the context.
And you denied it again tonight.
What I'm denying, Smokey, is that I said that about all Jewish people. That's what I deny.
Oh, so it's okay if it's about the ancient Jews then.
Yeah, and it's obviously like just a hyperbolic.
It's not obvious to me.
Statement. Like what evidence do I have that they were having sex with sheep?
What evidence do you have? Yeah, what evidence do you have? That's a good idea.
None, exactly.
So you just say it because you like to be a hateful bigot towards ancient Jews.
Well, no, I was trolling.
By the way, so it's okay to say racist things about people that aren't around anymore then? Like, just because they're dead and they're ancient, it's okay.
How is it racist to say that they have sex with sheep?
Well, because they didn't, number one.
Well, but I mean, how is that racist?
And two, well, can you name any other social group of people you could say that about where it wouldn't be racist?
Well, I mean, I've had plenty of Christians accuse me of bestiality.
Okay, that's you personally.
Yeah.
That's not a whole group of people, like a whole race of people or a whole collection of people. Because generally when you do that, when you associate a whole group of people as one negative thing,
but that's the point.
That's generally called racism or bigotry.
But that's my
what we
point.
call
I
it.
didn't make that claim about a whole group of people. I made that claim about a very specific group
The
of
ancient
people.
Jews.
No, not the ancient Jews. I said the people that wrote the Bible. That would be Moses and the writer of the New Testament.
So the patriarchs of the culture are the pedophiles.
The people that wrote the Bible. That's the comment I made.
Okay, so the people that wrote
the hyperbolic comment that I have no evidence of. I give you that. I give you that.
Sexers. So it's okay for you to insult the patriarchs then.
Sure. Why should I respect them?
Okay, so is it okay for me to insult your Indian ancestry?
If you have legitimate gripes with their societies, there are plenty of tribes. There are actual tribes that took slaves
and rape and cannibalize people. That was bad too.
Some tribes did do that, and yes, that was horrible. Some tribes took slaves. That was horrible, and I would denounce those tribes. I would not accept those tribes as anything part of me. I'm a Cherokee. The Cherokee people took slaves.
Did a lot of horrible things, yeah.
And I have called them out for that.
And you shouldn't.
Why not?
You know why? Because that makes you a bigot of your own people now too.
No, it makes me consistent and honest with my position.
Because they didn't have other options.
They did have other options.
No, they didn't.
Because all right. So you clearly don't know what you're saying here in this context. I'm not saying that about everything, but when it comes to the Cherokee people, they took slaves. So white people, the Europeans, would accept them more and not put them on that same level as the black man in those times. I mean, that was the reason they took slaves, and it wasn't the entire Cherokee people. It was the Treaty Party people. It was the very rich Cherokees of the tribe. It wasn't the whole tribe.
Were enslaving each other for centuries before we even got.
Some tribes were, yes. Some tribes were. Most tribes weren't.
And you know what? Everyone in ancient cultures did that because it was an essential part of the economy.
Sure.
Because they didn't have trade or regulated currency or any of those other things. So it was an essential part of culture. Okay, so it would be bigoted of me to look down on your ancestors and to call them a bunch of horrible, disgusting things.
No,
because they happen to live based upon what they had available to them at the time. It's called presentism. It's cultural bigotry. And it's something that we're not supposed to tolerate anymore in our modern progressed society. Now, maybe you are too ignorant, and I think you are, to realize what you're actually saying. And that's a problem with a lot of the modern atheists these days. They don't even realize what they're saying. And by the way, let's separate from the Jews for just a second.
Sure.
Because we have this clip that I played a few times of you admitting to be openly bigoted towards Christians and willing and wanting to be bigoted towards all Christians. Now,
I don't like Christians very much, no. But that comes from personal experience.
Your exact words were you intend to be bigoted towards Christians. You like to be bigoted towards
I think I've been back and forth on it. I think that
I know you've been back and forth on everything. I haven't. You're inconsistent on everything you say, Ronnie.
I'm very consistent. Can I explain this before you go in?
I don't think you need to, because all you're going to do is dodge more. This is you saying something dumb, then damage control, and then more damage control. And see, like
I say dumb shit all the time. All right, so
you made up a source to call the Jews pedophiles, and now I'm trying to switch the topic to something a little bit more current.
I didn't make up a source.
Which is your actual, you did. It's not biblical.
No, I didn't.
It's not in canon. It's not in anywhere that's actually
It's not biblical. It's based upon the history of ancient Israel.
No, it is not. No, it is not, sir. No, it is not. And that's why it is. You are so desperate to hate the Jews that you will say something like that, because we already pulled it up. We know where it's sourced. We know where it came from, and you have no basis for that statement. So you just believe that because you want to believe Jews are pedophiles. So that's on you. That's because you're a Jew-hating bigot. Now let's move forward. So since we have a situation here where you've admitted that you're bigoted towards all Christians, okay, I want to run through that story you told that you can't seem to ever keep straight.
All right, sure, let's do it.
It's a story of how you were fired.
Yeah, because of my tattoo.
Right. So you have a tattoo. I don't know what this tattoo is. I imagine it's a coexist or some stupid thing.
It's fiction. It says fiction.
Okay, whatever. Okay, so you have this tattoo, and there was a young woman there who had an issue with your tattoo.
Yes.
And so she made a statement about your tattoo, and then you made a statement back to her, and then you were subsequently fired.
That's not how it went down.
Okay, how did it go down? Go ahead and give me the full story because it seems to keep changing. But go ahead. And
no, it's never changed.
Okay.
Okay. So, and there's been like 3 jobs I've been. All right, I am just stopping it really quick to just remind the audience and YouTube that I do have written permission from Smokey Saint to play this footage unedited. So don't freak the fuck out. All right, enjoy. Fired over since I've been an open atheist, and I'm not going to say I have.
Are they all Christians' faults?
No, I'm
okay.
Getting
Let's
there.
talk about the one that I'm specifically.
I'm getting there. So I can't say that the other 2 were definitive because I have this tattoo and I maybe you don't understand this, but I am surrounded by Christians here. So this story particularly. The woman saw my tattoo, and she saw it several times before that, but it's you really have to get a good look at it and figure it out to understand what it's saying. When she understood what it was saying, she blew up on me. It wasn't she had words with me and I had words back with her. She blew up on me, and I defended myself, and I was very calm. I was like, hey, I'm an atheist. I have a right to be an atheist.
I have story, right?
I know you don't, but you're asking me to relate a story.
You're saying that she saw this tattoo several times and just decided on this particular day to flip out about
it? No, I said she didn't realize what the tattoo meant. People see this tattoo all the time. It's rarely an issue because it's not.
What does it look like? Can you describe it to me? Because I don't think I know.
I've put pictures up and I've talked about this several times, but it says fiction and it's in religious symbology, so it's not easy to make it out.
That coexist thing?
Yeah, it's kind of like along those lines. Okay, but this is my own personal design.
Okay,
right. So, so she saw it several times, but never put it together. When she put it together, she flipped out immediately. Now, I wear this thing on my arm. I very rarely wear long sleeves, so people see it all the time. They don't understand what it says. It's not offensive to them because they don't understand what it says. You really have to get a good look at it.
Just so I know, you say, I'm sorry, you say you're surrounded by Christians. North Carolina, is that where you're?
No, I'm in Michigan now.
Oh, okay. All right.
But in North Carolina was where I was raised Baptist.
But you've been like for most of your adult history, you've been in Michigan?
I would say that's probably I would definitely. I'd say like half of my life I've been back up here. Is the context of our story in Michigan, or is it North Carolina? It's in Michigan.
Okay, all right, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Continue.
And Michigan has become a lot like North Carolina. It's real. It's there's a lot to it. But so she flips out on me. I mean, it was a big scene, and I remained calm. I had several people go to the Baltimore.
I don't believe that. Right?
I know. Well, I know you don't believe that. I know you don't. But but I'm telling my story here.
I don't, right? But you understand why I don't, though, right?
Yeah, I'm rage.
Exactly.
But I also often say that I don't go around in my real life being raging atheist. I don't go up to Christians and berate them.
Well, I don't know about that.
No, you don't. That's just me making that claim. You have no way to know about that.
Let me tell you why I kind of lean the other way.
Okay.
Because again, I was in high school, man,
sure.
and I was in college. Okay, and I remember guys that had the stature, but not quite the brain power. No offense here. I'm not trying to be offensive right now because I think we're having a decent conversation. But
I don't take any offense to it at all. I don't claim to be the smartest apple in the bunch, but I'm not the dullest either.
What I tend to notice, at least in my personal experience, is that sometimes guys that maybe happen to be gifted with a certain amount of size and stature, but maybe not so much up in the wits department, will rely upon simply an air of aggression to kind of control environments, Like for me, I couldn't really do that. Granted, I'm kind of tall. I'm 6'4", but I'm spindly. I'm 180 pounds. I'm not some big bulging type guy. I mean, I was 210. I actually worked out a lot, but these days I've kind of let it go. I've been doing other things. So like for me, I couldn't rely on it quite the same level. And plus I never wanted to. Even if I had that intimidation factor, I knew I could also, communicate my way out of most of that stuff. So if I had to fight, I'd fight. And you know how that is, right? I mean, a time's going to happen, a fight's going to fight, right? Like it's going to happen in front of you. You're going to have to make it happen. Words aren't going to solve it, whatever. That's great. But most of the time it was about the words. So my concern is when I see someone like you and you tell a story like that, I think in my head, well, I feel like you kind of went a lot of your life kind of operating from this, I can control the environment. And you're right, dude. You're huge. You're 6'5". You have every reason to believe that you could control the environment even with just a little bit of aggression. Okay, but you see, that's how I see it. When you're telling me a story that, like, I'd at least understand it more if you said words were exchanged. She said shit, I said shit, and then I got fired.
Well,
that's a believable tale for me.
I didn't actually get a chance. I said that I remained calm. I definitely said shit.
Okay. Well, there was a reaction. There was a reaction, and rightfully so. I think I would too. If some chick at work decided to just go off at me, I won't lie, bro. I'd probably have a bit of a reaction too. I'm not so, I mean, you've seen me, man. I'm not exactly the type with a super short fuse, a super long fuse here. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. And I totally grant, like, I am 6'5". When I'm healthy and not overweight like I am now, I'm usually around 230 pounds. Right now I'm at 275 pounds. I've lost 10 pounds. I'm really trying hard to lose weight, but I understand that
that's
I am
really light for your height, by the way. That's
what?
like 175. That's like really light for your height.
I'm like 270. I'm 270.
Oh, 270.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't get that. Okay.
Yeah, I'm a bit big.
I was like
now.
175, dude. You don't look.
No, I'd be a beanpole. Yeah, I'd be a beanpole. But no, I understand that just my appearance alone is intimidating. If you're standing next to me, I am an intimidating figure. I understand that, and I've walked my whole life through that. Now, don't get me wrong. I am a hardened individual, and I've explained that several times. I went to prison at a really young age. It made me hard. I had to fight my way out of that mentality. Now I am kind of like a teddy bear. So like this persona, like this is me on YouTube. This is like who I am, but this isn't like who I am to people I know in real life. This is who I am because those people that I know in real life wouldn't let me have these conversations.
Ronnie, why exactly would you want to put yourself out like this? Like, I've heard you recently say, I want to be a serious debater. I want to have serious conversations. Do you realize how counterproductive that is with the environment, the atmosphere, the reputation you've given? It's like going your whole time here on the YouTube community being like just rage, angry, attack. And then all of a sudden you're like, well, I'm a serious contender. I want to have real conversations. And you still make videos like the Bible is stupid with no other purpose. There's no other purpose behind that, Ronnie, than to trigger us, than to make us upset and insult our culture.
I can see where you see that. But there is so you have me wrong. My reputation isn't, just all rage. At first, yes, like my first year on YouTube, when I made the Raging Atheist, I was getting all of that out that I couldn't speak because my family completely shut me down, didn't want to hear it. I've been shunned by my family since I came out as an atheist.
You know that that's not all Christians' fault.
Oh, no, yes, I totally understand that. So I forgot where I was going with that. But
like, by the way, do you realize we could have actually had a very different dynamic? You realize, you realize there's things even on Matt Powell's side that I don't completely agree with.
I still think we can have a different dynamic, Smokey.
Well, I don't know about that because
I do. Okay, that's why I came in tonight.
Okay, well then let me lay it down for you, bro. Here's our issue. Here's where we stand. I think you've done some really obtuse, offensive things that have compromised me being able to respect you. Okay, one of which is all your attacks against MMA. I don't think she deserved it. And I think you ended up sending so much hate to her and made her so miserable that she did actually stop making content for a while. And I remember that video where you were gloating over that. And that was gross to me. Okay, so that's number one.
No, I would agree with you on that. Like, my earlier videos on MMA were inappropriate and they were wrong. And I have made several videos since then trying to come to a more human level with her, trying to accept that her personality, her quirkiness, showing that, I like her as a person. I do. I think that she's a really nice young girl.
To me,
I have an issue with her indoctrination, and I also have an issue with the youth
Who's she
movement.
indoctrinating? Who's she indoctrinating?
No, her personal indoctrination. That's who.
Okay, so she being indoctrinated is
like severely, and
so she couldn't just believe for her own reasons or enjoy her life with what she wants to believe. She has to be made to feel guilty by you for what she believes.
Well,
That's apparently good.
It's kind of the nature of YouTube response videos. Like, I'm like not the only one that has commented on her like morning routines and stuff and had fun with that. Like, that's just the nature of it.
Yours were pretty vicious, and you seem to enjoy wanting to send hate after her.
I was pretty vicious. That's why I changed my tone.
Drew my attention. Yeah. And well.
All right, so I am going to try to do something to stop that notifications, but I do want to remind the YouTube watchers that I do have written permission by Smokey Saint to use this coverage and not be utilizing it in a way that would be covered solely by fair use. So just a reminder here, I don't want to X out of it. Because I turned my notifications off. That didn't work. Hopefully just minimizing it will do something. But yeah, so let's get back into it. YouTube watchers, I have full permission to use this conversation. If you have joined the conversation somewhat late, this happened about 4 days ago. This happened directly after my conversation with John Maddox. I went into Smokey Saint's room.
Well, you just released a video about a week ago saying how you're basically defying
after your criticisms. I doubled down, yes.
And saying, I'm not going to apologize. I stand behind it. So now you're going back on that?
No, I'm not going back on that. So I don't apologize for my criticisms of MMA because I think that they're valid and legitimate.
Then we have a problem.
Yeah, I know we're going to have an issue with that. I will never back down from that.
Okay,
but that does not mean that I didn't recognize some of my vitriol towards her and toned that down.
Then why don't
if you check out some of my,
then why don't you apologize for it if you think it was bad?
Apologize for what?
Well, you just said that you think some of your vitriol went too far and it was bad and it was wrong. So why don't you apologize for the part you think was wrong?
I will consider that. Yeah, you're actually making a very legitimate point right there, and I will definitely take that into consideration. You're probably right. The right thing to do would be to apologize for my tone and my rhetoric back when I first started making videos. It would display some character
to me, bro. It would display some character to me.
So I will give you that, and more than likely that'll happen. And I've actually probably already done that. And you just didn't catch that one.
Maybe. Well, if that's
I will
true,
probably I will probably do that again. Shoot me
the link. I'll tell you what. If it's true, shoot me the link, and I'll do a response on it.
If I'm remembering, I'll shoot you the link. But I think it's called "Getting Human with MMA," and it's where I really tried to tone it down. And I think I did apologize for the way I had talked in previous videos. If I didn't, then I will make sure to do so because you're right. Some of those earlier videos was terrible. I will give you that. And
like you said, and I just hope you understand the view from my mind of this. You claim to be oppressed by Christians. Like you don't. I
think that all atheists are oppressed by Christians.
Okay, you believe that. Now,
yes.
Can you see my view of you seemingly taking that as license to oppress one of my sisters?
I understand. I understand your problems with it. I don't understand Matt's.
Well, I don't know if I know Matt's position exactly on it. I
don't take you to be a fundamentalist to where
I'm not. Well, clearly I'm not.
So to where I can take you that you have a valid gripe with the way I approached MMA, and despite everything that's been between us, I can take you and say yes, that's a valid gripe that you have. To where with Matt Powell, it's just I can't. And when he came into it, it really kind of forced. I'm not gonna say it forced me because I chose to do it, but that's why I doubled down on that video because Matt Powell came in.
All right.
But I think you're right there. I think that I should apologize for my, really emphasize that I was wrong for the tone and the way that I spoke in those earlier videos.
Okay.
I should have.
I'll respect that. I'll respect that, and I will respect you a lot more as an actual person if you really do, because it hurts me, Ronnie. It hurts me. I just want you to understand something because I know I saw that video. I saw that video you did, that hour-long video about you and your people and your history. And you know what? You were really hurt when someone was spitting upon your ancestry and your people and what you came from. It hurt you.
Yeah, it did.
I saw you. You were nearly on the verge of tears through many parts of that video, and I watched it all the way through.
I remember that video. It was a very emotional video.
It was a very emotional video. Now, I want you to think, and I want you to just consider when you talk about my culture, my people, my history, which is very important to me. It's intimate to me. Okay, like your history, of your people is intimate to you, you wouldn't want someone just making a bunch of assumptions about them and applying, a bunch of really low thinking to digesting their culture and history. You would want them to be shown respect for what they were. So when you felt that hurt, that's what you're inflicting on me, and that's why you see me rage. Because that's what I'm going through. If you go watch that video again, Ronnie, and try to re-feel what you were feeling then, and know that's what you're doing to me. When you make these videos calling my people and my ancient progenitors these horrible, disgusting, foul names and spitting upon my history and my literature and my texts, it hurts me. And it causes me to feel like you don't care. You don't care about respecting other people when you claim to be a virtue signaler for respect.
I don't claim to be a virtue signaler.
Well, you are pushing for rights, for human rights.
I believe in equality for everyone.
That's what you claim. Yes. Okay. But I don't see that consistently when you're doing things like that. And when you have an issue, hurt deep down, like in your heart, an issue with something you're proactively doing and you can't even see it, that's going to make me rage, bro. I'm going to get mad and I'm going to have reactions like you saw.
I can understand, your perspective, and you can't understand the atheist perspective.
I can. I can because I was there, bro. No. I mean, I was an atheist, right?
Oh, I know that you say you was. So when Christians say that they were atheists, it's like a 50-50 thing for me, because almost all Christians are saying that now.
Right,
it's kind of a way to dismiss what we say.
I raised my fist to the heavens. I cursed God. I tried to kill myself. I thought my life was over. My career was ended. My life is a complete and utter crap show. I mean, how far you want to go here?
Well, I mean, it's kind of like what you said with me about, me getting fired from my job. Like, there's no way for you to know what I'm saying is true, right?
Yeah, true.
But
why would you really need to doubt me saying that? Like, is it just because you think I'm trying to win points?
Well, no, it's just because so many Christians are saying that now.
Well, yeah, lots of Christians say it. Some of them might be true. Some of them might be false. And I've been honest with my stream since day one. I was raised a Christian. I was in private school my entire life, even went to Bible college. I fell into predeterministic thinking and defunct philosophies. Then I found atheists like Matt Dillahunty and the like, started absorbing their arguments into my predeterministic philosophies that I'd gathered from my theological worldviews. And I grew to hate God and saw him as a moral monster, kind of the same way you do. But I had to reason my way out of that because the positions I was holding were not tenable. And I realized quickly I was bigoted. I had to talk to a fellow Jew before I realized that the things I were saying were so gross. And I was saying the things similar to like you were saying.
Well, so let me explain to you. Like, I do not hate God. I don't believe in him. I understand that my rhetoric and the things that I talk about can come across that way. That's intentional. I've always stated that, like, I'm not trying to bring Christians out of Christianity and into atheism. I mean, I'm sure that there are plenty of atheists that do that. I solely, my intention is to make atheist content. It is to make content for atheists.
But Ronnie, when you're claiming that you don't, that you're having this issue with indoctrination, like, that is kind of what you're doing.
No, I talk about the issue. So I want to normalize atheism. I want more people in atheism. I think, me personally, religion.
Well, now that's contrary to what you just said. You realize that, right? Because you just said, I don't want to convert people to atheism. And now you're saying I'm
saying on my channel isn't about converting people to atheism. It isn't about bringing Christians away from Christianity.
I don't care about that. What do you want? What are
me
you
personally
doing? Yes,
in an ideal world, it would be a secular world without religion of any sort, of any ilk.
And you think
including the Native American spirituality.
And you think that's better?
I think it would be, because I truly believe that religion brings harm.
All right. What is your evidence for that?
So there's the Pendle witch trials. This young girl, it was in Pendle, England. It was a long time ago. She was actually raised to believe that she was a witch, and by witch, I'm talking about they were the family in the town that got the herbs that healed people.
Dude, I know the witch trials were a horrible, horrendous thing done by a bunch of overly superstitious.
That's one thing. Exorcisms would be another.
Well, dude, this is just a generic attack on religion.
Well, no,
Like,
you're asking me why I find it harmful, so I'm giving you specific examples of why I find it harmful. Like people like me have been burned for being people like me until secular society came and took that away.
I don't know any atheists that have been burned at the stake.
The whole Spanish Inquisition was about strong-minded women that weren't willing to bend to the Catholic regime.
No. Come on, bro. Come on. That's not even.
That's pretty much what it was. The majority of them were women.
No, the entirety of pretty much the Catholic Inquisition was a convergence between heresy and treason against the state. Okay, so you could be brought under, and by the way, this is what I don't like about how Christianity gets put under the spotlight of everything that Catholicism did. You know,
real quick, I don't mean to cut you off. I'm just looking at your chat. I have the same problem with Catholicism as I do with all of religion. So yeah, I'm not like a big Catholic fan.
Well, but see, your inability to separate is the problem. Like your desire to conflate them all is the same.
Oh no, but I try not to do that, Smokey. I really try not to do that.
But I feel like you are, because you just did.
I think that's where we're crossing wires here. I really do.
Well, you said I want a world with no religion.
I do. Like in an ideal world, I also want an ideal world without guns, but I know I'm never going to see that.
No, you're never going to see that. Well, you're also never going to see a world without religion. Let's face it.
I'm never going to see that. Never.
Yeah, I mean, even us as Christians realize. I mean, for our perspective, we think atheists are religious. You know, like,
I know, it drives us crazy.
It's kind of like we're dealing with these things of diametric oppositions, and if we're not having conversations, then it's all wasted. We're all just going to start freaking killing each other, dude.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think
that's how it's going to happen. Okay?
This is important. I totally agree with you there.
Okay, so these conversations need to get, if not even for us, because there's always a chance neither of us will ever convince each other. But you know what? The audience is there, dude.
Yeah.
You know what? So here's the deal. I want to have a debate. I want to have an actual debate. Okay, and maybe with us clearing the air, we can. I'll tell you what. Let's do this. I'll come on your channel. I'll take you up in your awful.
Well, I told John Maddox today that we could do it on his channel.
All right, let's do that.
The show, and he would play moderator.
Yeah. Maddox mentioned that when he came in, and I kind of had a little bit of a hesitation because my whole thing was exposing you to the largest audience possible. But I'll tell you what. I think you're willing to meet me on common grounds tonight. So you know what? I'm going to take it down a notch. All right? I think if you're willing to engage in some respectful dialogue here in the near future, and be on Maddox's channel or whatever we figure out, and you at least give an apology. I'll you know what? Do the Bible is stupid videos if you want. I don't even think they get a lot of views anyway.
They don't.
Most
they don't at all.
Don't even pay attention to them. So whatever. You want to do them, fine.
I make those videos for atheists. I'm trying to be funny, and I'm putting the words up, and I just give a literal interpretation of the words. I'm not saying that I believe what I'm saying. I'm just giving a literal interpretation of the words. I know that the Bible is nuanced. I have read this thing many, many times. But at the same time, I feel like it should be within my rights to be able to talk about a book freely.
Ronnie, you can. It's not an issue of can or can't, because of course this is free country. We can say whatever we want. Like, you can say the Bible is stupid, and I can make a video talking about how you're stupid for not being able to understand it. But that's not going to get us anywhere. Let's face it.
Yeah, I agree.
Like that's not ever going to get us anywhere. So why don't we try to find a way to come to a reasonable term?
Yeah, I'm good for that, dude.
For the time being. So I'll tell you what. I will come to a more common, respectful meeting ground with you if you will do these two things. One, apologize to MMA, and just at least for the portions that you admit were gross and terrible. And I think we both come to terms on that. And stop making your Bible is stupid videos, because of course it's just obtuse to me. You don't get much views on it anyway, bro. Like, I mean, what's really the point?
Okay, the point is, it's for atheists. It's not for Christians.
Well, I get it's for atheists.
As Christians, you really shouldn't really even be watching it.
Why would you want to promote the reading of a complex text with the least amount of intellectual effort possible, just for the sake of being entertained?
Well, I wouldn't say the least amount of effort possible.
Well, yeah, I mean,
it's not
commentaries or
but it's not atheists. But it's not atheists that take those things literally. So here's the thing that I was trying to say earlier.
Let me tell you something. Even if you're an atheist, if you're reading the Bible, you should cross-reference so that you know what the Bible is saying, because otherwise you wouldn't know, right? Like, every Christian since the beginning of time has said that you need to interpret the Bible with the Bible, right?
Sure, but at the same time, for a long time, It wasn't mass released to the people. You had to go to the clergy to get that interpretation.
Well, irrelevant. The Bible was canonized in its full form by 100 AD, and it's still available, even though it was available through the priesthood. Yeah, you're right. It was still available. And that's
through the priesthood, you had to get that interpretation from them.
Well, yeah, that happened for many number of years because it had to be maintained in Latin because the Catholic Church was evil like that. And they wanted to retain the scriptures. I don't disagree with that, but it's still there, and it was still canonized, and it was still in its form.
I will agree, like with the Protestant Reformation, that did seem to change.
Well, of course it did, because finally the Protestants said, okay, enough is enough. You guys have been fleecing the people. You've been lying to us. You've been making up doctrine. And now that we have some of our insiders, like the Protestants, that have gone in and read the book themselves and realized that everything you've been peddling on us is garbage, and then you have the church split of 1050 AD. So now all of a sudden you have a divergence, and all of a sudden the word of God is available in the hands of people, and they can digest it by themselves, and they can actually start to study it and understand it. And the entire dynamic of the Christian world completely changed, including the Roman Catholic Church losing a vast majority of its power. It was nothing but positivity once the word of God made it into the hands of the common man.
Yeah, I think I agree with that.
I mean, that was just a matter of their...
As in context of history, yeah, definitely.
Well, yeah, I mean, look at, Martin Luther in Germany. Like, I mean, he didn't decide to stick up his, Reformation theses or whatever it was on the church door until after he saw some priest in the street basically, fleecing the people, saying, oh, give us money. You have to give us money to save your, loved one from getting out of purgatory. If you don't give us your money, then your loved one is there screaming and suffering. And none of that's biblical. None of that's biblical.
Oh yeah, Martin Luther used to be one of my heroes when I was a Christian.
Yeah, I can see that. I went to a Lutheran grade school my entire life growing up, so I took the entire Lutheran and Catholic catechism.
Yeah, see, I was Baptist, but something about his story really stuck with me. And yeah, he was for a Christian, he was all right.
Here's my issue with like the Bible, as much as I would say for like any ancient text, is to try to represent it honestly. Try to represent and I heard you say in your response, like, well, we can only interpret it from our first world culture because that's the only culture we have access to. That's the only thing. Well,
our modern lens, yeah, we only have our modern lens to look through. But that's not
true. That's not true. You can learn about the ancient lenses. You can learn how those.
Well, I have. I know all about the ancient Near East. I have a direct connection to Dr.
Okay, well,
Josh.
now you're contradicting again, dude.
All right, that's definitely where I wanted to stop it. So I'm kind of like misrepresenting something there. So let me pop up here. So I do have a direct line to Dr. Josh, but I hardly ever use it. I don't want to like, because this conversation was very fast, and Smokey is as good as I am at getting his points across and talking over. So I don't think I really get a chance to tell because it's kind of like I'm making an appeal to authority here, and just because I have a line to Dr. Josh, which I hardly ever use, doesn't mean anything. I know a little bit about the Near East as opposed to probably a lot of people that don't know shit about anything, but in no way do I know near as much as Dr. Josh. And again, I do have a line to Dr. Josh, but I hardly ever use it. In fact, I should use it more. I'd love to have Dr. Josh on more, but it's somewhat a pride thing and somewhat an OCD get obsessed with shit thing that I just do what I do and I forget that I have friends and I can talk to people. Yeah, I wanted to stop it there and kind of like put that out there that, this is no appeal to authority, or am I trying to say anything? Dr. Josh is a good dude. Smokey, this would come into the conversation about some of the things that you've been saying. I respect him, and I think he's a beautiful man and one of my favorite people that I've ever had the luck to meet. So, I just wanted to stop right there. We will continue. So let's carry on.
Because you just said you couldn't know, and now you're saying, "Oh yes, I know." So, you can know.
No, you can know the context of it, but you can only look through the modern lens from which you've been indoctrinated into. There's no way that I can step into the shoes of, say, a 2000 BCE Jewish man and understand the issues, the pressures, and the law that he had to subscribe by. I can only look at that law and look through my modern lens and say that was atrocious behavior.
I
The same,
disagree.
I do it with a lot. I look at Nazi Germany. I wasn't there, but I can look at that and say that that's atrocious behavior.
Yeah, well, that appropriately is, because there's no viable justification for it inside the context of the narrative, and that's kind of part of the issue with trying to compare the two. Like, if you were going to dissect the Nazi era, you still would want to be doing it in those lenses. Like, for instance, for the German people themselves, isn't it important to know how they thought? You know, why it is that this evil regime was able to rise up through the ranks?
I have looked into that.
Okay.
The three major Protestant leaders of Germany backed Hitler and got the people on board.
Exactly. Well, Protestant?
They were Protestant.
I don't know about that.
Hitler himself was Catholic.
Socialist. Yeah, Hitler's well, you can claim that, but Hitler's socialistic regime that he founded was actually anti-religion. That was one of its core components.
Well, I will agree with you, because I've actually looked into this a lot. Hitler was definitely into the occult.
Party was certainly anti-Christian, and if it was not specifically anti-Catholic,
they were going to become anti-Christian. There's definite evidence that they were planning on doing to Christians what they did to the Jews. There's no doubt about that.
Oh yeah, they absolutely were.
But they did utilize Christianity to get the people of Germany behind them.
Well, yeah, but that's just propaganda. That's
sure.
not the Christians' fault.
Yeah, I grant that. I don't think that Hitler was an atheist, like a lot of people put out there. But he grew up Catholic, and he got into the occult, and he got on like some serious drugs.
So if he was so you're saying, like, if he was pagan or something like that he was.
Yeah, he was like into aliens, and he was trying to find the staff of power and all of that shit. Like, he was really into the occult.
Okay. All right.
And he definitely had plans to do to Christians what he was doing to the Jews.
Well, but could you say that someone into the occult is at least a supernaturalist, if not an atheist? I mean, because I don't know. I mean, I guess I don't know if, like, supernaturalist necessarily means you believe there is or isn't a deity. I mean, yeah,
I'm not sure if he believed in God. I know he believed in aliens and shit.
I had called out Surus on a video once, and I had said, like, he was doing something about, like, Christian gatekeepers or something like that, and I had said something along the lines of, like, well, would you guys be happy if a bunch of, like, animal slaughtering paganists, like, came and started calling themselves atheists? And this was the response to the Christians doing a bunch of garbage stuff, and, like, well, because they claim to be Christian, you have to accept them as Christians. I'm like, that's not what my book says. Matthew 7 makes it very clear that there's lots of people who claim to be Christian that won't enter the kingdom of heaven. 1 Corinthians 6, 9, and 10 gives a whole laundry list of things that we're not allowed to do if we hope to inherit the kingdom of heaven.
I agree with that. So, when I was a Christian, I wouldn't consider. I don't think most Christians would consider. Well, I'll take that back. When we were in North Carolina as a Baptist, we were definitely considered Christian. But before my dad moved us there, and I lived here in Michigan with my mom, we were still Christian, but we did not live that lifestyle. And I do not think that most Christians would consider us Christian.
Right. And that's kind of what I'm saying. Like, there's kind of, like, you have to be, I guess, maybe careful a little bit in terms of that conflation. Like, for me, like, have you seen my Darth Dawkins content?
No, I assumed that you liked him, and then I found out you didn't. So
no, there is a video. I recommend you watch if there's anything on my channel that you'll at least enjoy, and it's called "Dear to Darth Dawkins with All Due Respect," and it's about 12 minutes long, and I think you'll appreciate it because I went off on him. And here's the thing I want you to understand about me, Ronnie, because you don't. Like, I mean, granted, we haven't had a chance to really even get to know each other, truthfully, because you just pissed me off. Yeah. And I just started going at you.
Yeah, so, you started coming at me pretty hard. And that's in all fairness, that's why I went at you pretty hard.
Well, and I didn't care about that either.
I know. I didn't either. I think it's fun.
Yeah, it doesn't matter to me. I don't care. I mean, if anything, it's almost even good for the audience sometimes, too. But no, whatever. Yeah, it is what it is. It's
definitely good. I was talking about that on one of my streams recently. Like this is what my channel needed, like, because it's been on a downslide.
Well, dude, I'd almost have to admit, I almost think I'm your more popular content. Like,
I think you are,
and you get 30 or 40 people in there, man.
You quickly became the old knock is back, and it's because of you.
All right.
I got to give you credit for that, man.
All right. Well, here's the thing, dude. I'm gonna just level with you. You do what you want to do. It's a free country. You say what you want. But
I'll give you the apology
gonna,
to MMA because I really feel like I probably should do that.
Just want that's fine, and I appreciate that, and that's at least somewhere for us to work off of. But I just want you to know, if you can keep doing the Bible is stupid series. I think you're probably going to anyway because you say it's for your atheists and stuff. But just so you know, like you continuing to take that approach will read the way it continues to have read to you when you were doing that video about your culture and your people. So just know that when you're sitting down there to sit and do your video, know that there's going to be some Christians out there who have a Jewish root, who have an intimate connection to their people and a passion for them and a love for them, that are going to feel real hurt by what you're doing. And if you're claiming to be someone that's trying to progress rights and progress respect in society, I don't think that's a good way to go about it. But I mean, you're going to do what you're going to do.
I think I should at least try to make a differentiation here because modern Jewish people, while I have a lot of issues with the right-wing government of Israel, I have no issues with modern Jewish folks. Their society doesn't offend me at all. In fact, I have spent a majority of my activism being accused of being a Jewish pawn of George Soros because I'm a leftist and I get out in the streets and I do activism. At first, it started out for marijuana legalization here in Michigan, but then it stretched to BLM and all of that stuff that you know about. But one of the accusations I get a lot is that I'm an agent of George Soros and I'm an agent of the Jews. And I've had to fight against that narrative of modern Jewish people being stereotyped as this very evil sect. My issue isn't with Jewish people. And I will grant you too. Another thing, and I've said this several times. I said it when I was talking about making the comment to you that when I say things like, the writers of the Bible are a bunch of people that have sex with sheeps, that I am not doing any justice to myself. And in fact, I should not say those things. And that's something that I've really tried to work on over the years. And I don't know, like with you trolled me, and I'll admit you triggered me a little bit. You got to me with some of your trolls. I will admit that. I often say that you're a bad troll. You're not a bad troll because you got to me with a bit of it.
I appreciate the honesty.
But so when that came, when I typed that again, that was just more of a triggering, because that's something that I've really tried to get out of my repertoire, is just being just blatantly disrespectful. I take major issue with the culture of ancient Israel. But at the same time, you're right, and that language is offensive, and I shouldn't say it.
And I appreciate that, and I appreciate you saying that. And you know what? That's the exact debate I want to have. And maybe now that we can find a little bit of common ground.
Yeah, I think now that we're talking decently, we can have that debate. That was my issue. I didn't want to have a debate about me being an anti-Semite.
So yeah, and I can understand that because that's what it would have been. And I would have done that. I would have turned the entire.
I know. That's why I said nope.
And granted, had you not ended up coming into the stream for me to, yell at you, with Maddox, maybe you would have ended up still doing the debate, and that's exactly what would have happened. So maybe that's just not what was supposed to happen. And I am one of those people that does proactively lead to belief in the Holy Spirit that manifests things as they're supposed to happen. And maybe that wasn't supposed to happen. So I'll tell you what, I would be happy to have another conversation with you on Maddox's channel, but not the Old Testament debate. The Old Testament debate I want to have on modern day debate. Okay. And I want to hear your perspectives, and I want to hear your pitch on your views of the ancient, because I get it. You have an issue with the ancient Jews and the ancient culture. Okay. And you have an issue with the things that they decide to do. I get it. Lots of atheists do. And that's part of my thing, is to talk to and answer to those things so that we can possibly bridge some of these gaps. Because if we can't bridge some of these gaps, bro, we're going to be at each other's throats. It's going to be violence. It's going to be guns. It's going to be blood. Like if we don't find a way to start making these conversations happen, what the next step is.
Well, in my opinion, so one of my greatest fears is fundamentalists taking over the country. And I think that there's a lot of that happening. You see it in the National Prayer Breakfast and the group called The Family. So that's my fear. And I honestly fear that if we're not having these conversations and if we're not showing our humanity, and that's essentially what I try to do. I try to show my humanity and all my flaws, and I try to accept my flaws. But I think that if we're not having these conversations, then one of two things it can go both ways. Atheists will gather in number, and a certain element of toxic anti-theist will insist that we outlaw religion. And that's not something that I stand for.
You got a couple of your boys, Nanometer 1550, coming in and challenging me to fight someone and get my head twisted off or something.
I didn't catch that. I would be against that. I would tell them to chill out.
I'm sure
with
you
the
would.
Violence,
that's what I'm talking about. Like, it's this type of like viciousness that's in the debate sphere. Like, why is this in the debate sphere?
Well, yeah, I agree with that. That's why, like, when I debate, I try not to bring rage. The only time like it really happened in that debate with Matt Powell, it wasn't supposed to be a debate. I don't even know why. I think that I was just like so eager to try to get the threats and the crap to stop with him that I accepted doing it on Modern Day Debate, but it was always supposed to be about our feud.
It should, yeah, and you know what? That shouldn't have been where it took place. And I think that was the biggest issue. Like,
it shouldn't have been on Modern Day Debate, and then he did that whole bait and switch thing.
It should have been on a neutral platform, on something of like a smaller channel, just like what you guys did tonight with Maddox. That's what you should have done.
Yeah, and I agree with that. And then he did the bait and switch thing. I found out the day of the debate that it was a debate about evolution. And I'm like, holy crap. So I had a decision to make. Do I have that evolution debate that I've already had with Matt Powell two times in face-to-face, or do I do what I told him that I would do? Like, I told him I would never have a debate with him again until we addressed our personal issues that were leading to death threats against my daughter. So that's the only time. But usually in my debates, I'm really trying to be calm. My thing is I want to have truth. If I'm saying something that's untrue, like, the whole 12 days, the whole 12 years in one day thing. Right. If it proves that I am not true about that, I will not only apologize for it, I will fix that in my rhetoric going forward, and I will make sure my audience knows that I was wrong about that. I don't think I was. I'm looking at it at a history point. Yeah, that didn't come from biblical. That just came from a history of ancient Israel, but in the context of the ancient Near East. It was an actual that was a common practice in the area at the time, including in ancient Israel. But probably not through all of ancient Israel. So I need to get the context of that.
That's the issue. I would need the reference for that, because the only thing we have in terms of a contextual historical account is that which we actually have in the Bible. So, I mean,
all right, we got about 24 minutes here. So here we get into the discussion. Let me get back up. Let me do this real quick. Here we get into the discussion about that 12 years in a day thing. Now, if you haven't seen my video entitled "Owning Some Mistakes," I do admit that I had some things mixed up with that. 12 years in a day is the age that you can sell your daughter into slavery. And it was a period of time that was later implemented or later replaced by a true dowry system. But the 12 years in a day thing was when you could sell a daughter, usually in poverty, into slavery to get yourself out of that poverty. And so, as I discussed in that Owning My Mistakes video, the actual age of consent was the first menstrual cycle, usually being 12 or 13. So the argument still stands, and me and Smokey are going to be debating ancient Israel culture on Modern Day Debate. I got to reach out to James, but we've now both agreed to that debate. Now that we're on calmer terms and we can speak, and again, you saw in the side chat, we're going to also be talking about the issue I raised at the beginning of the stream. After this is done, we got about 24 minutes left. Maybe not that long, but about 20 minutes left. Then we can talk about what just happened and all that. So, yeah, let's get back to it. And I want to thank all of you guys for watching. I didn't expect it to happen like this. I'm sure Smokey didn't expect it to happen like this. I fully believe in taking responsibility for your shortcomings, listening to legitimate criticisms, even from people on the opposite side. In the middle of a heated battle, a heated back and forth, you should always listen. You should always look at yourself. You should always try to improve yourself. And that's the thing, showing that humanity. So let's get back into it. Thank you guys for watching.
If we're dealing with like contemporary accounts of like, because here's the issue, and this is the issue of like the big debate I had with the morality, is that the Jews were different from their contemporary cultures. So like, just because you find a record of a contemporary culture that had a practice, like there were contemporary cultures that normalized rape.
I agree for their time and for the area. The ancient Israels were actually more progressive than the cultures around them.
And that's the only argument I ever make, really, is that for their time and their people with what they had, like there wasn't like to have an expectation of like modern standards isn't realistic for them. And I draw the equation. This is what I say when I tell people about it, is I tell them like when Moses came down from the mountain, he didn't have 613 laws with him. You know, he only had 10. And you know, I look at the Islam text. Like if you look at the Islam text, I think it's Surah 7:149, if memory serves. And it says that Moses was sent down with all of the laws. So Muhammad actually thinks that Moses was sent down the mountain with a mountain tugged behind him, apparently, with all the 613.
Yeah, the Quran is really weird.
Yeah, the Quran's really weird. So anyways, but we know from our text, from our digestion of it, that they got 10 laws, which were basic moral constructs because they were still a young nation, just newly working out. Then they progressed a little bit further. They grew a little bit. They needed a little bit more structural laws. They needed to understand things about how to do things and how to set up the Levitical priesthood. And then they had a sacrificial system because, well, they were going to kill and eat all the animals anyway. God wanted to do it in a way that they could actually commune together. So great. Okay, sacrificial system put into play, Levitical priesthood put in play, a central theocracy put in play, governmental systems put in play, and then finally they get to their land, and then they need a whole set of civil laws. And now those laws come in with how they can do trade with neighboring countries, where they can buy the slaves from the neighboring countries. But of course, the Jews treated the slaves better than the slaves in the neighboring countries. So it was supposed to be an act of mercy, because let's face it, the Jews was the only place in the entire contemporary world where you actually get a required day off once a week.
Well, yeah, I agree with that, but
I mean, there was some of those things that really kind of set them apart. And so, like, if you were, this is the thing, here's the thing, if you were born in the ancient Middle East, like high probability you were going to be born a slave. Like, there's just no way about it. Like if you were born in that ancient world, like the likelihood of you being born into like a holder family was like an unlikely scenario. Most people were born and died in abject poverty. So
and especially in ancient Israel, right. It was the wealthy that had slaves. You had to pay taxes on it.
Right, exactly. So you had this kind of like, I guess I'd almost call it like a serf system. You know, kind of like almost what they had in England. You know, you have the people that own the pejorative amounts of the land, and then they will sell or lease out the land to others. And all of these entities all have their own servants and slaves that make up the framework. So they're all part of this big system that's all the maintenance of their economy, because this is just what they had to rely on. You know what I mean? Like, there's no banks, there's no currency, there's no like means of trade. Like if you're one of those people, like say you're just some random guy and you're out in the middle of the wilderness, okay, probably one of the first things you're going to want to do, if you don't want to be subject to the elements, animals, nomads, marauders, all that stuff, the first thing you're probably going to want to try to do is find a household to be a servant in, because at least there you're going to be safe, you're going to be provided food, you're going to be amongst a lot of other servants, and you're probably going to be treated decently well if you end up in Egypt. And this was my original question, I guess, is if you were born in the ancient world, a high probability you were born a slave, is there anywhere else you personally, Ronnie, would prefer to be born a slave rather than ancient Israel? Is there any one of their neighboring contemporaries that you think would be better?
Probably not. Honestly, well, but I take issue because I don't think that you're automatically going to be born a slave. I definitely
not automatically. No, I didn't say automatic, but just high probability. I mean, like high
probability, or that they were better off being slaves for Israel, because all right. So we'll talk about the 6 kingdoms that surrounded Israel when Moses it wasn't Moses. It was Moses.
Yeah. No, there was. Yeah, they entered into the land, and there were the kingdoms of the Rephaim and the like. Yeah.
Yeah, and so these people had their own cities, their own cultures. Right. Some of them were probably slaves, but probably the majority of the population weren't. They're probably more like the serf system that you're talking about.
But if it was the serf system I was talking about, the majority would be slaves. It's just
I definitely do not. I would speak out against the serf system pretty much the same. I would speak out against ancient Israel.
The reason I say that is because it's simply out of a perspective of essentiality or necessity. Because like I just said, if you're one of those people who doesn't have a household to belong to and you don't own anything, like you don't have any sheep or resources or anything, like the only thing you own, the only thing you have to be able to offer for your own self-preservation is your labor. And if you're in an area like the Middle East that doesn't have like a regulated central currency, there's a lot of these people that may need labor, but they can't afford it. They don't actually have currency to pay people. They can only pay in basically like slave wages. You come in, you sleep, you eat, you get the providence of the household, and you work for us. It's basically how they had to structure it because they didn't have anything else to rely upon. And so to me, I try really hard to judge it through that lens of realizing if I was God and I was over these people, like, I wouldn't want to give them a law that would cause their extinction, right?
Well, sure, but so my problem here would be that, how do I phrase this? So my issue isn't so much that slavery existed, because it did. It wasn't nowhere near as bad as the slavery we had here in the Americas and the South.
Even today. The slavery we have today.
The slavery today, the slavery today is much worse.
Burundi, North Korea, Saudi Arabia, Yemen, Jordan.
Here in the States, children and women get abducted all the time for sex slavery.
Rape gangs,
the rape gangs.
The grooming gangs are all over the place.
Our government doesn't want to seem to do anything about it. Yep. So yeah, my issue with back then was, for one, all right, so Deuteronomy 20, 10 through 16, when you march up to destroy a city, make its people an offer of peace. If they accept and open their gates, all the people in it should be subjected to forced labor. See, I have an issue with that. To me, that seems immoral. And they shall work for you. If they refuse to make peace and engage you in battle, lay siege to that city. When the Lord your God delivers it into your hand, put to the sword all the men in it. As for the women, the children, the livestock, and everything else in the city, you may take those as plunder for yourself, and you may use the plunder of the Lord your God gives you from your enemies. This is how you are to treat all the cities that are a distance from you and do not belong to the nations nearby. However, in the cities of the nations the Lord your God is giving you as inheritance, do not leave anything alive that breathes. And those are the types of things that I take issue with the Old Testament. And I look forward to a civil debate with you on the Old Testament. And I fully understand that, like, my rhetoric is probably the cause why we haven't yet. And I will grant that. And I will grant that honestly, not like I was with John in our stream just a little bit ago, just frustrated. And I'll grant you that. No, I will grant you that honestly. And I look forward to that. I look forward to that.
Okay. Well, I do too. And that's fine. I'd rather have an actual productive conversation anyway. I mean, granted, a screaming match calling you a bunch of horrible things would be fun, but it won't be very profitable.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun occasionally. It is good. I'm not really one to really care about views or any of that. That's why I've always made my Protect the Sacred series or my Bible is Stupid series. I know that people want to see me talking shit about MMA. They want to see me talking smack about girl.
Might I add, before you started doing your Bible was Stupid series, I was one of your biggest fans of your, Indian, heritage series, because I related. I was like, here's someone who has a certain intimate attachment to his people. Like, I actually found a relation with you. And then when you started making that series, I'm just like it shattered me, because I'm like, I thought maybe we had some common ground of respect, and apparently I was wrong.
I can give you this. Like, I don't want to stop making the series, but I can give you this. I for one, since you started trolling me about it, I kind of tailored my more recent ones around your trolls.
So, did you? Because I didn't watch the more recent ones, so I didn't even know.
Yeah, I did. So what I will do is I will take a more serious approach when I do it. I will try not to. I won't. My intention won't be to be disrespectful, but to truly interpret it, and try to do that cross reference, and try to make it as I don't know, accurate as I can. I will give you that. All right, so man, we got like 14 minutes left, but I need to talk about that real quick because I have actually considered this. Been back and forth on it. Smokey, I think you're still in the chat. So I have major issues with so-called cross-referencing. Like, you know, and me and Smokey will have this discussion. It'll probably be part of the discussion on Modern Day Debate, where he uses Peter to create this narrative to where Noah was out preaching to the people, to where that directly contradicts what is saying, what is said in Genesis. And Smokey, I do believe your argument is to use that as saying what Peter is saying is what actually happened. And I don't think that I could actually read the Bible and keep the essence of this series alive if I were to try to come at it from your Christian view or a Christian view at all. I think in the series is about an atheist perspective reading the Bible, and I'm gonna remain to be true to that. So I did say that I would do that, but just in considering, in full honesty, that is pretty much killing the series, which I'm not willing to do. So despite the fact that hardly anybody watches it, I'm gonna just keep doing it the way I enjoy doing it, because I mean, quite honestly, it's why they're pretty much the only edited videos I make anymore, is because I enjoy doing that. I enjoy doing this live streaming, and I'm trying to spend a lot more time with my daughter and not so much time doing other stuff, and getting healthy and all of that stuff. Yeah, well, I'll be talking about my health in the stream, and on Patreon I'll be starting a vlog and all of that stuff. So if you're a patron, you'll get to see what's going on behind the scenes and all the things I'm doing health-wise and whatnot. So let's get back to it. We're almost done, y'all. Thanks for being here. And again, after this is over, we'll have a quick discussion about what just happened, why it happened, and I'll take questions if you guys have any questions. And try to do that cross-reference, and try to make it as I don't know, accurate as I can. I will give you that.
I appreciate that, and that would mean a lot to me, Ronnie. And you'll earn a lot of respect with me for doing that, because again, this is about cultivating an atmosphere of respect. And like, if you can at least respect my worldview, that maybe I have spent a bit of effort and time and thought.
Well, I think you're very intelligent. You know, despite all my trolls, I think you're highly intelligent, and you do have a base of knowledge that most people don't.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you for saying that. I appreciate that. I want to have, I started this channel only about 4 months ago, by the way, and I trolled you years ago when you first started under a completely different name.
Oh, really?
Under a completely different name, which I won't reveal right now.
Well, when I first started, I probably really deserved it because I was an ass.
Yeah, I was trolling you pretty darn hard back then. Yeah, no, I did lay into you a few times, but I also gave up for a while too. And now when I just started recently doing this and came back on, you know how it is. Like when you first started, like your deal was, let me find some stuff to react to get some content, you know? And I was doing the same thing, and I was just going through atheist channels, like finding stuff to do. And like, you didn't even come up into my mind until like I was reminded of you. I came across one of your videos. I think it was one of your Indio videos. Yeah, it was your Indio video. It was one, Save the Land. It was a really emotional one. It was some guy, he was standing in front of a bunch of people like the tribe, and he was giving a real emotional statement about how like we all suffered, we died here, we bled, and we've learned to forgive. Oh yeah,
that was my No Dapple coverage.
Yeah, that was actually an epic thing, man, and that actually really touched my heart, because again, it's that thing of that intimacy. Like for me, bro, like history is so important. Like history helps tell me like who we
I agree
are.
with that. I'm a history buff. I love history.
Like I love history. I always did love history, even when I was in high school, because like and my history teacher told me, and I carried this with me my whole life. He said, if the people that do not learn from their history are doomed to repeat it, you know. And his best example to me was like, if Hitler had paid attention to what happened to Napoleon, he probably wouldn't have tried to march through Russia in winter. You know, it's one of those things where we are the victims of our ignorance sometimes. And like, and part of that has to do with us making the decision to correct it. Because we can sit in our ignorance our whole life and be happy, man. Ignorance is bliss, you know? I mean, it's hard to learn things, you know, but that's what makes you a better person. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I often feel the same way. I think that learning from your mistakes is what makes you grow as a person. You know, I've always, despite the trolls, I will take legitimate criticism. So even at our worst, and I'm going back at you and you're coming at me, your legitimate criticisms were taken seriously. I've really been considering, you know, my approach. I've been talking about it with a lot of people. My approach is something that needs to be fine-tuned. And I need to stop getting so emotional, and I need to stop clapping back like I do and all of that. But your legitimate criticisms of me, and anybody's legitimate criticism, they stick with me, and I try to make that change.
Right, and I appreciate that, and that's respectable, and I do appreciate that. But let me tell you too, it's not like I don't have an issue with you raging where it's appropriate, bro. Like, look at me.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Yeah,
look at me.
Well, I think we can relate a little bit in the fact that we do get emotional about what we're passionate about.
Exactly. So I mean, it's not like I'm sitting here trying to judge you for raging. I'm just saying, like, some of the things you rage at, like, just has me puzzled sometimes.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it does a lot of people, and sometimes it has me puzzled. And quite honestly, there's been several videos when I've went back and watched them, and I'm like doing a face palm. You know, like my anti-theistic days was horrible. I've come a long way. Like I used to be one of the atheists that would straight up say, you know, religion is a mental illness, right. And today I find that rhetoric abhorrent. You know, like, no, it's not. And it's, you know, not believing in a God isn't a mental illness. You know, mental illness is real and it should be taken seriously. And you shouldn't devalue it by placing it onto, I say enemies, but just people you disagree with,
right.
You know, that it should be taken seriously. So yeah, like in my first year and a half on YouTube, I go back and I look at those videos and it's like facepalm. It's like, oh, why? And then you think about deleting them, but then you don't, because it shows that progression.
Your first one was actually kind of funny, I thought too. You were, it's funny because you had commented later, like something about one of my debates, like, oh, stupid Smokey needs to do a scripted opening, and yeah. And it's funny because you had described it. You're like, and like later on you explained why, because you're like, well, when I started, I was doing scripted openings and I look like a dumbass.
I did, man.
And so I went back. I actually, after you said that, it's funny because I hadn't gone all the way back to your original videos yet. So I went all the way back to your very, very first video. Like your very first I am the raging atheist, you know, video, you know,
that was my first one. Yeah.
And I saw that you there kind of like reading the script and stuff, like, okay, now I get it. Now I see.
Yeah. I am a terrible reader. I have to be really familiar with it for it to come out natural.
Well, you know what? That's a comfort curve. You know what? You got to build it. You got to build it with time. And that was you just beginning at the end, dude. Like my first several streams, I deleted because they were just a goddamn catastrophe. So, I mean, I get it, man. I totally get it.
I'll tell you, after because when you put out the video of me saying the N-word, I literally almost pounded my head against the table. I'm like, I need to go delete that right now.
Like, did you forget you said it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because I don't even use that word in context of racial discussions anymore, because, you know, I've been convinced by several people, not just black people, that no, just don't say it. No matter what.
Well, it was funny. Part of the video, like, I almost thought about clipping it by itself because it was so funny. You're like, well, if I go up to a group of black people, like, what's up, my niggas? Like, that's no issue. And I'm like, I just wanted to put a little subtitle there at the bottom saying, I dare you to try it.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was in reference to, like, you know, my past days when I was in groups and I could do that.
Right.
But yeah, hearing it back, I'm like, oh my God.
Seriously, I bet if you were like a kid in high school in North Carolina, that was just a normal thing.
Oh yeah. I often talk about it. I remember the moment.
And by
I tore
the way,
my
you
rebel
understand,
flag down.
like from my positioning, I actually agree with you part way. Like I agree that we should be able to say whatever the hell we want. Like I guess my issue from that video was like the idea that, okay, we can say whatever we want, but we also should be able to say whatever the hell we want without not worrying about our face being beaten in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and that's kind of what I was getting from your video, and that was the issue, because I'm like, okay, you support free speech.
All right, so 5 minutes left to go, and I do want to interject here. Again, me and you are going to have very staunch disagreements, Smokey. At this point, it's like 4 a.m, and I really, and I'll be getting out of the room soon, but it was time for me to go to bed. But I would have very staunch differences here, because while I do believe you have the freedom of speech, I try to explain it. There is a... There's a consequence to every action. So if you're going to go around exhibiting speech that's going to land you a consequence, well, I think you're partly partly responsible for that consequence. So I mean, I would highly disagree that racists should be able to just go around saying derogatory racist slurs without any repercussions at all. Now, if those repercussions happen to be violence, the person that committed that violence would have repercussions of their own. Again, actions and consequences. That's what I believe in, and we could have a discussion about that as well, because I stand firmly behind that. I consider myself Antifa, although I don't do Antifa activism in any group, but I have been literally one that stood face to face with Nazis, and I have always advocated. People don't like it. I know that I've made a commitment not to talk about it, but I've always advocated that the most American thing you can do is punch a Nazi. I will always stand by that statement. But yeah, let's finish this up. We got 5 minutes.
Speech, but like we should not be able to not have our face bashed in for free speech. You know what I'm saying? Like,
well, yeah, but my point is, every action has a consequence. So
but you understand where I'm coming from. But I'm with you on the free speech thing. Like,
and I do agree with you. Like, honestly, if we really want to get over this racial thing in America, we're gonna have to have that conversation, right. And we're gonna have to be able to have that speech and not worry about repercussions, because we need to have that conversation, right? So yeah. Use that speech in regards to a serious racial discussion and not in regards to using derogatory. And I think that maybe we might have some wires crossed there. I'm not sure. I would love to have a conversation and clear that up with Smokey. I agree.
Like, we need to be able to say things to each other that are offensive, and we don't have to worry about the other person smashing our face in.
And for the record, I do not endorse violence of any kind. Although sometimes in my rants, except for I just endorsed punching a Nazi, I am inconsistent there. I will admit some hypocrisy. I probably sound like I do, but I'm like so nonviolent to a T now that it's almost like I get called coward because I walk away from fights now.
Ronnie,
I'm not gonna have that with you.
You know what? I never got the impression you were an actually violent person. Like I never got that impression. Like if anything, I got the impression that you were trying to carry yourself, just with what you had available to you.
Well, and a lot of my persona, I shamefully admit it now because I'm no longer a fan. Like I copied Cult of Dusty. Like I was trying to be that edgelord that Cult of Dusty was trying to be.
Well, and I know you even said in your beginning videos, like you kind of appealed to Cult of Dusty and also Raging Atheist. Not Raging Amazing Atheist.
Before he became before he went to the craziness,
he went pretty crazy, for sure. He's still pretty crazy, my goodness.
I don't watch either one of them anymore.
Yeah, he's pretty out there. Like, and here's the thing, Ronnie, that this is like ultimately the issue to drive home with you is like we can have a better rapport. Like I
think so too.
Okay,
and I do want that. I mean, we can argue. The argument's great.
Right.
Come in and do your thing in the side chat. That's great. But I think that we can have at least an open conversation where we're not at each other's throats.
I agree, and that's fine because I think you've actually come in here and you've approached me on some pretty reasonable common ground with both MMA and the Bible is Stupid series, which, by the way, were pretty much my big issues. Because again, like I told you,
and you've always said that.
Yeah, and like I said, there's issues in there's stuff in your content that I really appreciate, that I think is intimate and beautiful. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. And I probably should focus on some more of that. I remember this one video where I'm talking to new atheists coming out and the problem of suicide and I think that's the content I should be focusing on and kind of limiting the rage. But at the same time, the rage is it is.
You don't need to kill the rage.
Yeah, it's part of me. So
you just need to make sure it's placed appropriately. I think.
Well, yeah, I agree, and I'm really glad that I did come in here tonight because I think that all people can find common ground. I truly believe that every one of us has merit. Everyone, like, I would never want to take away a person's right to be a Christian, to be a Muslim, to be what they feel like they are.
Well, yeah, we wouldn't want to do that. We want to argue them out.
Except maybe
Nazis. How it's going to be done. Right?
I would like to show rationality and maybe stop being so irrational at the moments that I am. And I've always admitted that. Like I've always admitted that aspect of me. And I'm kind of like that in real life. Not so much anymore because I've kind of like hermitized myself. I'm like basically this hermit now that has no social life. But back in the day, I was very visceral in real life and very just aggressive. And I didn't do violence after 24. I made that conscious decision, but I would get so angry that I would punch walls. And I did that for a long time. I had this whole stream about self-harm, and that was the way that I self-harmed myself. Right. And it's something that I've always worked on. It is a fault that I have that I recognize. It's part of who I am. And I've tried to recognize that. And I think having my daughter has really softened me a lot. I often say I didn't grow up until the moment that she was born. Until that moment, I was a child. So my goal with coming out as an atheist and doing this, at first, it was to get all of that stuff out that I couldn't say, that my family had shut me down on. But my goal now is to understand why people are the way they are, why I'm the way I am. And sometimes that comes out healthy and sometimes it doesn't. And I really need to work on the times that it doesn't. And that is something that I am truly trying to work on about myself, despite, trolling your chat or trolling you. That is something that I really, really take seriously because I understand that atheism has this image that I don't help when I do that. We should be showing our humanity, not showing our vitriol. So that is something that I'm really trying to work on.
I appreciate that, Ronnie. That's a mature statement. I appreciate you saying that. It's very respectable.
I am going to get off here because I'm up way super late. I do want to say that I thank you for actually having this conversation with me, for it being respectful. I enjoyed it, and I look forward to talking to you on Maddox's channel. It'll be about what you want to talk about, and then we'll have that Old Testament debate on Modern Day Debate.
Sounds like a plan, man. Sounds like a plan. Okay. Well, yeah. Right. Good talk, man. Have a good night.
Yep. You too. Thank you. Thank you again for this. This was awesome.
Yeah. I appreciate you, man. Thanks for coming in. I think we really cleared the air. We found some common ground here. So actually, yeah, I'm happy too. I'm glad you came in. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Cool, man. Have a good night.
You too, man.
And enjoy the rest of the review.
Yeah, I'm not going to do any more. We're done with it. Yeah, we're done with it. Yeah.
All right. That's it. So, yeah, let me get over here. So, yeah, that was the conversation. So, again, if you wasn't here at the very beginning, then let me pull that up. I should get my new microphone tomorrow, hopefully. If you wasn't here at the very beginning, it was a very intense situation walking into it. I had stirred Smokey, and I was able to keep my cool. Now, it was hard, and I did notice the comment about how the whole conversation, Smokey called me Ronnie, and I assume, just like I assumed with John Maddox, that Smokey understands at least some of the context. Especially, I know that Smokey reviewed the modern day debate with Matt Powell, and that did come up. Why I don't like that name, and that's just one of the things that you know, as I was saying at the beginning of the stream, that Smokey, you got to stop doing. You've got to show some respect to get some respect. Respect is earned, and you got to stop with the name calling. And you know, I don't like that name for very specific reasons. Now, I do let some people call me that, you know, here in the YouTubes. John Peterson is more than welcome to call me that. John calls me every day almost. You know, we are in constant communication. Justin Coe is a Christian that I told could use that name because he flew all the way here from Oregon and met me as a human being. I told Matt Powell that name. Now, Matt Powell abused that because I also told him not to use that name publicly, and he did. He's the one that first started using it because we met face to face and we met in person. And I'm a man like that. So there's reasons why I don't like that name. And if you want to have a respectful thing moving forward, well, then you've got to show that respect. And as I was saying with your, I see Dr. Josh in the chat. Perfect timing. I'm not sure if you've been here for a while, Dr. Josh, but perfect timing because I want to speak to this. Like, don't be praised who's going to attack a man like Dr. Josh, especially knowing that praise follows and understands what Dr. Josh is going through, and it's just not a good human thing to do. Don't be that. Don't be that person that we look at as just like, ugh, why would we want to talk to them? You've got to. You have the ability to have good arguments. You're, like I said in this stream and in that conversation, I think that you are a very intelligent person. And if I can do it, dude, you can do it. If you can look at yourself and you can say, hey, I'm not going to be that. That's on you. And it's going to be hard because you've surrounded yourself with people that do that too. And you've got to overcome that. You've got to be better. You've got to be able to admit where you're wrong and not be that person. Don't be praised, man. Don't be praised. You know, I've had conversations with Praise where he'll come on here and he'll talk up Dr. Josh and give him so much respect when he's here, being confronted on it, and then say he's going to be better and not do that anymore, and then he does it again. Don't be Praise. You know, it was very hard for me to stay calm. Especially with the even when the conversation was at its calmest, when I got in it to a calm state, and finally, you know, was able to start talking to you man to man, human being to human being, it was hard for me to stay there just because you kept using that name, and you know I don't like that name, and that's just my name. Imagine things like Homo Santa, and we're gonna have to have that discussion because, you know, I stand by my conviction. I can't be, there can't be an element of respect if there's absolute homophobia. So I would love to get your position on that. That's going to be a hard discussion that we probably going to have if there's going to be true respect. So, I mean, there's a long way to go, but I think that we was able to build a bridge here, but that's going to deeply depend on you, because if you're going to continue to attack people for no reason with these sorts of attacks, well, then I'm going to have no choice but to be rage. Now, I'm really trying to calm that down. You know, my health issues. I just had a heart attack. I'm losing weight. Like people are starting to actually comment about it in real life. And man, you're looking good. You're looking good. I guess that people see it here. I think I'm starting to see it a little bit there too myself. But I definitely see an improvement already. And you know, I don't want to be rage unless I really, really have to. I'm really trying to tamper that down. I'll be 43 years old in 10 days, and I've already had a heart attack. So, yeah. When at the beginning of the stream, when I'm showing what I'm walking into, and you're talking about my health, you don't know people. So I have vein disease that has affected my health. It's probably one of the major reasons why I have had a heart attack. Now, I did not quit smoking like I should have all those years ago. And I'm still trying, I smoke about 2 cigarettes a day. I got this thing, and this thing ain't no better. It's nicotine. Nicotine's going to hurt my veins. I got to quit smoking. But it's just, you don't know what's going on in people's lives when you say those things. That can really affect somebody. If somebody's going through serious depression, for instance, and you're in the side chat just out of nowhere, just vitriol and attacking them just like, you rat, you're a disgusting human being. That's not good, dude. Simmer down. You're not going to get respect that way. Nobody's going to want to talk to you that way and have these really in-depth, serious conversations with you to where we can have them back and forth and you know, hey, man, I said a thing about 12 years in one day and I was wrong. Let me correct where I was wrong and let's continue this conversation. Because that's what you're going to get with me, but we got to have that respect. So I don't know. What do you guys say up in the chat before we get out of here? Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised because I said it in the chat earlier. If I was still drinking, that would have never happened. There's no way I would have kept my cool, especially at the very beginning. But just even like every time he said Ronnie, I would have went off. But yeah, I thought it was a good conversation. We'll see where it goes from here. Nobody changes overnight. Again, I'm not telling Smokey Saint what to do. I saw the commentary where I'm interested in what you guys thought of the conversation. I don't want to really put out too much. Go back and watch it or put your comments in the comment section. If you have anything right now, any questions, I'd be more than willing to answer them. But I think sometimes you really just got to be able to look at yourself and say, hey, I'm wrong, and expect nothing in return. And I don't expect anything from Smokey Saint. I don't expect Smokey Saint to stop his attacks just because I say, hey, dude, that's an issue. I'm just saying maybe look at yourself and maybe really look in that mirror. Some real good work there, Knock. Thank you for your kind words, Knock. Stay strong. Have to get some sleep. Yeah, thank you for stopping by, Dr. Josh. And I'm sorry you're once again going through the whole praise bullshit. But yeah, I guess I'll just get off of here then, guys. Colonel Chubbs is in the chat. We're going to set up a conversation about Bigfoot. That's going to be an interesting conversation. I can't wait for that. This Thursday night, Godless Engineer will be here, and we will be talking mythicism, and really stoked about that. And then Saturday, I have somebody coming on to reflect on the whole Smokey Saint situation. I booked that before this conversation. So, we'll see how that works out. So, I'm going to get out of here. I want to thank you guys. You guys have been great. And I think I have proven without a shadow of doubt, like, if Drag is still here, I'm sure he's a busy man. He's probably still not here. He remembers several conversations where I've lost my cool and ended conversations before they should have. Now, I was in his room. I could have left at any time, but I couldn't just ended the conversation. But I think I've come a long way. So thank you guys for being here. I'll see you soon.